My commitment to Albertans is that I will work hard, I will be honest, and I will do everything possible to keep our economy going and making sure that Albertans get every single benefit from our oil, from our natural resources, from the opportunity of living here in Alberta. And that means that our money doesn't go to other places, it doesn't go to New York, it doesn't go to Europe, it stays here as much as possible in Alberta for Albertans.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News. As you can see, I am now joined by Minister of Energy and Minerals, Brian Jean, behind us. The beautiful Calgary Stampede taking place. You'll excuse a little bit of wind that will be blowing our hair all over the place as we talk about Alberta energy. I suppose my first question for you, every Alberta government, even the NDP that's somewhat anti-oil, insists that they're the ones to get pipelines built. What would you say is perhaps different about a sort of Brian Jean-led energy sector, a UCP government led by Daniel Smith, that's actually going to be able to get our energy to these international markets, get our energy out there so that Canada, as Grant Hunter said, or Alberta, as Grant Hunter said the other day, can indeed be a land of milk and honey?
Well, first of all, if you're comparing us to the NDP, we say what we're going to do and then we do what we say we're going to do, and that's the difference between us and the NDP. And let's face it, we're going to try to get as much pipe in the ground as we possibly can to make sure we can get our products to market. That's what my job is, and I'm going to do that. And we've talked to the federal government, and to be honest, I'm optimistic. They seem to be very receptive right now to the opportunities that Alberta has for Canada and the rest of the world, and I'm optimistic. But the fact is that if they're not part of the solution, then we'll deal with it in other ways to get a solution.
I want to talk about the ways to push back against that, but first, I also wanted to talk about just sort of beyond the NDP, the UCP also in the past, and the Conservative Party prior to that. There's been struggles to get pipelines built. Do you have sort of a different approach or a different strategy to address that and to sort of put an end to this let's build pipelines rhetoric, but the pipelines just aren't getting built?
Well, we have a lot of pipelines in Alberta, first of all. I think most people should be aware that we have a lot of pipelines in Alberta, and they go in a lot of different places. But what am I going to do? I'm going to be persistent, and as you may have noticed with my political career, I'm very persistent, and I make sure I keep focused and keep my eye on the ball, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I do have the federal experience that gives me a little bit different perspective on what's happened in the past and what we can do differently in the future, and I want to be cooperative. I want to work with all of the different levels of government to get it done, and I think the big difference now is the federal government actually sees Alberta as a solution to the environmental issue, and that is through carbon capture and sequestration. We have the best substrata space in Canada for that kind of thing. We have the ability to create hydrogen. We have the ability to create net zero steel and net zero a lot of things here in Alberta, and we're pretty much the only jurisdiction that I believe that can get to net zero at any time soon, and we are doing that. We are leading the world right now on all of our technology, whether it's CCUS, whether it's our oil and gas sector, whether it's our natural gas sector, whether it's the SMR sector. We're actually, I just had a meeting with the minister from Ontario, and we're talking a little bit about SMRs and maybe some possible solutions there for the oil sands and some other sectors here in Alberta, industrial use. And let's be honest, I'm doing everything I possibly can, look at every single option available to us to make this happen, and we're going to.
This is a question I put to Premier Smith, but perhaps you can weigh in a little bit. There seems to be, and potentially there's a bit of a back foot off when we start entering the conversation surrounding energy, sort of apologetically. So is using terms like net zero and environmentalism and sort of really emphasizing that, is that sort of conceding there's something wrong with it? And is that something you see? I understand industries are doing that in Canada, but are like Saudi corporations and OPEC producers, are they engaging in the same sort of language?
Yes. I came back from Korea. It was all net zero, net zero, net zero. People have different years. People have different expectations, but the truth is the international community has an expectation of net zero by 2050. Well, we can do that. And we can do that because we know the industry has told us we can do that. We're not trying to force industry to do something they don't think they need to do. They know in order to sell our oil to the world, they need to be compliant to what the world expects. And that's what they're doing. And that's why they're leading the charge. And I'm consulting with them. I met about over 100 this morning, and we had fulsome discussion about all of these issues.
Well, it is great to see Calgary's downtown is also behind us, in addition to the Stampede grounds. It's great to see businesses coming back. We've seen some tech firms returning, all of that good news. But with the amount of natural resources that are sort of available and are around, it seems as though we could be very much prospering to a greater level, similar to what you're seeing in Saudi Arabia or some of these other countries. I believe the most accurate numbers that I've seen is our barrels per day are about a tenth of what OPEC is putting out. Is it time for Alberta to sort of grow up, start playing with the big boys, and sort of emerge as a world superpower when it comes to oil, beyond the extent we already are?
Well, I truly believe we are an energy superpower with more to come. Hydrogen, SMR technology, the opportunities right across the province with ammonia and with agriculture. And I haven't even mentioned oil and gas yet, and natural gas. I mean, we have so much opportunity here in Alberta, and we should be excited because it is exciting. And when you go to Korea, when you go and talk to the Japanese delegations or Australians or others, they recognize that Alberta is not just a world leader, but there's so much opportunity here right now. A population of 4.6 million people in a huge, huge geographical region with so much abundance of natural resources and strategically positioned just north of one of the largest markets in the world, the United States, with preferential trading agreements. I'm trying to encourage other people to come here, create jobs, get lots of jobs for Albertans, create an industry here, and let's send stuff to the world from here in Alberta, using our natural resources, using our natural gas, using all of the things we have to offer the world, which is, in my opinion, and most experts' opinions, more than any other jurisdiction the world has to offer.
Now, in addition to also having those resources, they're also with all the sort of environmental standards, the regulatory standards, the work standards, not to mention the enrichment that First Nations communities are seeing, some of the most ethical oil on earth. How important is it from sort of an ethical standpoint to advocate for our energy sectors?
Listen, there's nobody that does it better than we do. Nobody that does it better for Indigenous communities or communities as a whole. More money stays for every barrel of oil taken out of the ground here in Alberta than I believe in any other jurisdiction in the world for the people. This belongs to the people of Alberta, and I'm going to make sure that they get every single monetary possibility out of every single drop that we can. And that also means that we get lots of jobs because, you know, we need to build a nation here. We really do. And the nation is right here in Alberta, and we can offer so much to the country of Canada, so much to North America, and so much to the world. Think about it this way. The Paris Accord allows us to lessen GHG emissions in other places in the world. Well, we can do that through technology without having to apologize, and I'm not going to apologize for our oil and gas sector. I'm so proud of it. I go around the world talking about how great it is. Things are only going to get better, Adam. We are building a nation here. We truly are, and I'm excited about it.
It's great. A couple more questions, and we'll wrap up. I know you got lots of stuff to do.
Well, the wind is pretty windy.
Yeah, it is. the sort of general sentiment that landlocked nations, and there's been a lot of talk about nation building, sort of should have a fundamental right to access tidewater, should be able to share their resources on the national stage, is critical. We were at the Minister Dreeshen event the other day where he was talking about the development of these sort of economic corridors. How critical is that and success on that front to ensuring that we can actually move forward? And will this sort of expedite the headaches that we're going through, always fighting for every single pipeline?
You know, I think there's been a change of scenery. We've had a couple things happen. The Russian war and their attempt to control nations by the use of strategic resources. I think the world has seen it. They've woken up, and now they're looking at other opportunities. You know, that's why Germany is looking for our natural gas. That's why other countries around the world are saying, hey, Canada, can you provide us with liquid LNG? Can you provide us with oil and gas? Can you provide us with the opportunities that you have for your people right here in Alberta? We have the greatest place in the world right here in Alberta. And, you know, I'm so proud of it. I really am, folks. I'm so proud of our energy sector. Come up to Fort McMurray, see what it's all about, because we do it better than anybody else.
Final question for you. We had the opportunity at the Premier's Breakfast to ask a number of people what they thought the UCP had to do in order to secure the next government and perhaps claw back some of those seats that were lost to the NDP. What do you view as sort of the minimal metric of success for you as an energy minister, whether it be barrels per day, economic growth, whatever it may be, but what sort of metric are you setting for voters to look back on as your commitment to Albertans?
My commitment to Albertans is that I will work hard, I will be honest, and I will do everything possible to keep our economy going and making sure that Albertans get every single benefit from our oil, from our natural resources, from the opportunity of living here in Alberta. And that means that our money doesn't go to other places, it doesn't go to New York, it doesn't go to Europe, it stays here as much as possible in Alberta for Albertans.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Minister Jean, for your time. And for everyone at home, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. Unlike the other media outlets who get big handouts through your tax dollars in order to tell not the other side of the story, but the government side of the story, we rely on you to support this important work. And that's why we're not accountable. We don't have to bend the knee to individual donors or to the government. We are only accountable to you, the viewers, and to the truth. If you want to chip in and keep this important work alive, you can do so at rebelfieldreports.com.